Have you guys seen the new handbag drop from ALO Yoga? I am wondering if ALO Yoga has completely lost the plot. That is the question we're going to be answering in today's video. ALO just launched their handbag collection in September of 2025, and when I say these bags are expensive, they are expensive, okay? Obviously, brands are allowed to charge whatever they want for their products, but it is up to us as consumers to be pretty vigilant about where we're putting our money, because obviously our value is in our dollar. This handbag launch absolutely plagued me. I was so curious to do a deep dive into ALO Yoga because, to be honest, I feel like this brand has had an interesting trajectory. ALO has always been known for their high-end prices, but this handbag launch, I am telling you guys, is straight luxury. In today's video, we're going to do a full deep dive on ALO Yoga, on the brand's mission, and I'm going to break down if I personally think that this handbag line actually fits within the brand ethos. Because if you guys know anything about ALO Yoga, it's not just product that they're trying to sell. They are trying to sell you a lifestyle. So let's jump into the deep dive. ALO Yoga was founded back in 2007 in Los Angeles by co-founders Danny Harris and Marco DeGeorge. They were two childhood friends that stumbled into yoga and were using yoga as both a mental and physical treatment for their different ailments. ALO stands for Air, Land, Ocean. Okay, it's definitely given a little bit of woo-woo. The brand really took off with their activewear and their athleisure wear, kind of touting that you could use it in a workout, but also look stylish out while you're running your errands or wearing for casual outings. If by chance you've never heard of ALO Yoga, some of their primary competitors would be brands like Lululemon, Viore, or Beyond Yoga. Typical prices of ALO pieces range anywhere from about $70 for a sports bra up to $250 for like a jacket. Definitely premium activewear and athleisure wear, but not luxury prices by any means. They were also really known for doing a lot of seasonal colors, so oftentimes some of their fan favorite pieces like their tank tops, their sports bras, their leggings would come out in seasonal colors throughout the year. ALO Yoga has more than 50 brick and mortar stores at this point, which they actually call sanctuaries. Again, it's a very interesting branding that they're doing with this brand, but their sanctuaries include yoga studios, cafes, like they're trying to make it a full experience. They also have a ton of celebrity endorsements. We're talking A-list celebrities like Hailey Bieber, Kendall Jenner, the list goes on and on. I want to plug this little part in here because I feel like it's kind of an offshoot to the whole celebrity hype thing, but ALO has a very exclusive club that they call the Wellness Club. If you guys are on the social media sphere, it is very, very likely that you will have seen some of your favorite influencers at this ALO studio, specifically doing Pilates, which is quite funny because obviously it's ALO Yoga, like they're known for yoga. However, I do feel like every post I see of people at their wellness studio, they're doing reformer Pilates. That's 99% of what I see. However, the ALO Wellness Club is a fitness and wellness space that is actually in the corporate headquarters in Beverly Hills. This wellness space has a whole gym, there's a Pilates studio, there's saunas, there's cold plunges, like, you know, it's the full experience. The ALO Wellness Club is invite only. It is not open to the public. It's actually very known for being very exclusive. You either have to be a top influencer, a celebrity, you have to be referred by somebody who is kind of already a part of the studio. So I guess that's part of the appeal. And the only reason I wanted to touch on the Wellness Club is because I do feel like it gives you a really good insight into the trajectory of ALO Yoga. And even though they did start out as a relatively accessible activewear, athleisure wear brand, I feel like certain offshoots of the brand definitely show you that they are trying to be exclusive. They're trying to sell you a lifestyle, and they don't want that lifestyle accessible to everybody. I think that's like pretty clear based on the way they run their business model. And we will circle back to this towards the end of the video when we actually start talking about the handbags and the handbag prices and the exclusivity of that particular launch. But let's jump back in time to December of 2020, which is when ALO Yoga released their first little offshoot venture, and that was their launch into skincare. ALO's skincare brand was called the ALO Glow System. It launched at a really, really good time for them, I would say, because for those of you guys who don't remember, December of 2020 was the peak of lockdown and everybody was indoors and everybody was doing skincare and baking their banana bread and doing their little dancey TikTok. So it was a great time for a skincare brand to launch. The original skincare line launched with 7 products, and I'm saying skincare, but it was more of a face and body care line. And just because I'm a beauty girly, we will talk a little bit about the skincare itself. They launched an enzyme facial cleanser, which essentially was your daily facial cleanser. They also launched a radiant serum, which again was a pretty generic serum to help brighten your skin. They also had a luminizing facial moisturizer, which again was a pretty standard glowy face moisturizer. While they did tout certain key ingredients in these face products, I will say overall, it was kind of meant to be a one-size-fits-all skincare, which, if you know anything about skincare, is not typically the case. However, I understand when you're launching one skincare brand, you want it to appeal to as many people as possible. As far as a few actual body items, they did have a vitamin C enriched body wash, as well as a body lotion that had some superfruits in it. They also had a head to toe glow oil, which was supposed to be obviously a glowy oil that you could use on your face, on your body, in your hair. They also had a magnesium sleep spray, which was supposed to help with post-workout recovery or help with sleep. The prices of this line ranged anywhere from about $24 to $88, and the face serum was the higher priced item in this collection. To me, the prices made sense. I feel like this is a pretty standard price point for a high-end, not luxury, but a high-end skincare brand. Definitely something you could see on the shelves at Sephora or Ulta or a place like that. It would fit right in. Okay, the next little offshoot collection that we are going to talk about is the Aspen Collection. The Aspen Collection was ALO's first kind of capsule collection that definitely leaned more luxury than anything we'd ever seen from ALO. This collection debuted at New York Fashion Week in September of 2022. And as you would expect based on the name, this collection was inspired by the après-ski lifestyle. It included performance ski suits, water-resistant outerwear, lots of faux fur, especially like long faux fur coats that went all the way down to the ground. This was the first time ALO did something a little interesting in terms of pairing this capsule collection wardrobe with NFTs. These digital NFTs essentially linked or like certified that you had a real ALO Aspen Collection item and you were able to get some benefits or something out of that. I don't know. It was an interesting little inclusion in this collection, that's for sure. And the prices of this capsule collection went all the way up to almost $1,500 per piece. So again, this was definitely a pricier capsule collection, and you could see that ALO's little offshoots were slowly starting to veer more luxury. Another little venture that ALO went into was their sneaker collection. So the sneaker collection actually launched initially in May of 2023, and I will say I remember when these sneakers came out, and I felt like they really were going for a very trendy silhouette at the time, which was, in my opinion, an exact dupe of the Nike Air Force Ones. I mean, the original ALO sneaker looked like an Air Force One. However, it was quite a bit more expensive, which to me, I do think the Nike Air Force Ones are a pretty classic sneaker style. However, if you want the Nike Air Force Ones, why wouldn't you get those? Why would you pay almost double for the ALO version, which in my opinion is a clear, I don't want to say dupe, but kind of a dupe of the Nike ones. I do think that a lot of people had a very similar opinion to mine because pretty quickly ALO stopped promoting these sneakers as heavily, and they actually kind of redid their sneaker collection. That original sneaker was called the 01 Classic sneaker, and I don't believe that that exact sneaker is sold anymore. They sort of reimagined it and came out with their newer version, and that new version is called the Recovery Mode sneaker. Now, this sneaker looks a little different than the Air Force ones, but again, you could see, if you look at this sneaker, you know where the inspiration came from. These sneakers retail for $185. So again, more expensive than the Air Force ones, definitely. They claim that this sneaker is supposed to have some good cushioning. It's supposed to help with the pressure points in your feet. Basically, it's supposed to help you recover post-workout for that in-between time when you may need some extra support on your joints and stuff. Another sneaker silhouette that they have is the ALO Runner. Now, this is more of your classic running sneaker silhouette. While I don't think this particularly looks like a dupe of any other sneaker that I've seen, it is, again, a very classic silhouette. These sneakers also retail for around $185. So again, definitely a higher priced performance sneaker. And then the final silhouette of sneaker that they have is their Sunset sneaker, which I would say is pretty similar to a Puma Speed Cat sneaker. It's a very low profile, kind of minimal silhouette type sneaker. It's not too aggressive looking. To me, I don't know why I think of this as like a dance sneaker. I don't think that these are particularly made for dancing or anything, but when I see them, they just remind me of like something a dancer would wear. That's my own interpretation of this sneaker, but I think they're really cute. However, they're not particularly the most supportive sneaker. They don't have a good sole to them. Like, they really are more of a fashion sneaker than an actual supportive performance type sneaker. And these are quite pricey. These sneakers retail for $225, which in my opinion, for again, just a fashion sneaker, I think that's pretty expensive. Now, here's the thing. ALO really is pushing hard that this sneaker collection is meant for recovery. It's not particularly meant for performance. They keep touting that it helps support your feet and your joints and your heels and all of that, but it's like, I think any good sneaker, especially at the $200 price point, is going to do that. Like, get any good performance sneaker and it is going to be supportive. That's the entire point of spending that much on a good pair of sneakers. And since these aren't performance shoes at that price point, they really are at like a premium price just for a fashion shoe. And in my honest opinion, as someone who does work out, if you want a really good pair of sneakers, you could spend just as much on an excellent, like top tier quality running shoe. I personally wouldn't purchase the ALO sneakers for any type of actual activity. Okay, now we're moving into what I'm gonna call phase 2. This is phase 2 of ALO Yoga, in my opinion, and this is the beginning of their Atelier collection. ALO Atelier launched in October of 2023, and this is where ALO Yoga got a little fancy. They got a little bougie because this is their luxury line of formal wear. This is kind of their transition from your typical casual athleisure wear and moving more into proper formal wear. They had actual like gowns, slip dresses, really formal, elegant pieces in this line. They had really nice outerwear, coats, jackets, and then of course they had some stuff in their little après-ski lifestyle. ALO loves a little après-ski moment, and you know what? I'm here for it. So they had some upscale ski suits as well as some base layers, thermals, stuff like that. Now, while the line was supposed to be more elegant, it still gave you that overall vibe that you could use it from the studio to the streets. You were supposed to be able to wear it in more casual settings, but it could also transition well into a formal setting, mostly because of the fabrics that they used. They actually used a lot of really high quality silks, cashmere. They also had really good tailoring in these pieces. So just essentially they were supposed to fit the body better and just look nicer overall. Most of these pieces came in really neutral tones like black, tan, colors like that can again be paired with so many different things. And again, this Atelier collection was bougie, okay? Like their prices started at around $300 and went up to like $1,500. It's clear that ALO was trying to make a statement. They were definitely trying to show you that ALO is not just for the basic athleisure girl. ALO is for the bougie girl. And that's where the handbag collection comes into play. ALO touts that their handbag collection is an extension of their Atelier collection. So if that tells you anything, this is an expensive launch. The reason I want to talk about it is because when I got the email from ALO that they had launched bags and real leather bags, I actually was kind of interested. I clicked through that little marketing email and was like, ooh, I wonder what the collection looks like. And just upon initial glimpse, I was like, okay, the styles are, they're pretty classic, they're pretty basic. I wonder how much these cost. Oh, that's where I made my mistake, you guys. The second I saw the price tag of these bags, when I say my jaw was literally on the floor, I don't know the last time my jaw has been that just gaping wide, okay? The ALO handbag collection did launch in September of 2025. Their little marketing blurb on the handbag collection says, staying true to the ethos of ALO, the bags were crafted with thoughtful consideration for how they fit and feel on the body to flow with you from studio to street and into all the facets of your life. And to really top it off, each of these bags comes with what they call an ALO intention crystal. The energy of the crystals, this is not my words, okay? This is ALO's words. The energy of the crystals carries the resonance of your intentions throughout your day. I don't know. I don't know about all of that. I'm not a crystal hater, but I am a crystal skeptic, and I have no problem. You know what? Rewind the tape, actually. I just want to say, if you're a crystal person and if having crystals, holding crystals, keeping crystals on you makes you feel some type of way, makes you feel energized, makes you feel optimistic, makes you feel safe, by all means, I love that for you. I have nothing against the crystal lover. I just think that to add it into the marketing and the story of a handbag, it's just interesting. They're definitely doing some type of interesting story marketing with that one. The two crystals that they have on these bags are the smoky quartz crystal and the citrine. Smoky quartz is supposed to protect you, balance your daily life, and the citrine is supposed to attract, positivity, good vibes, optimism, confidence. And the crystals kind of hang off the bag, sort of like a bag charm. And I know bag charms are very, very trendy right now. I love me a good bag charm. So I'm not opposed to the whole bag charm thing. And I do think that, if this crystal bag charm is something that appeals to you, I think objectively it's not a bad idea. It's just interesting given the prices. Before we dive into all the nitty gritty, these bags were designed in LA, but they are made and manufactured in Florence, Italy, supposedly by artisans that have been doing this for generations. They are constructed from responsibly sourced leather and suede, which is different than recycled leather. I do have to put that out there. I think sometimes like responsibly sourced and recycled get kind of, all the greenwashing terms get kind of muddled and confused. Responsibly sourced is different than recycled, okay? Recycled leather, that's a whole topic in and of itself, but responsibly sourced is quite okay with me. So let's talk about the bag collection, okay? There are 5 different styles. The main style, or at least the one that I think they are using kind of as their hero style, is the Voyage bag. There's the Daily Voyage and the Voyage Duffel. So the Daily Voyage comes in a black leather and espresso leather. It essentially looks like the shape and the rough size of a Louis Vuitton Speedy 35. It's kind of that rounded top handle bag that, again, is a really classic shape. The marketing photos as we go along are quite hilarious, I do have to say. But what's not quite so hilarious is the price tag. This Daily Voyage bag retails for $3,300. $3,300 for a ALO bag. Interesting choice, okay? Interesting choice. Like I said earlier, this Voyage bag also comes in a duffel version, which again is a little bit bigger. The closest to this would be something like the Louis Vuitton Keep All, probably in like the size 50. And the duffel version of the Voyage bag is $3,600. So only a couple $100 more than the regular bag. Still exceptionally expensive. The reason I'm doing the comparison specifically with the Louis Vuitton here is because Louis Vuitton is a classic designer brand. It is a very kind of, I don't want to say basic, but it's heritage, you know, like it has history, it has a story. Everybody knows Louis Vuitton. If you know anything about the designer world, it is a classic. And something like Louis Vuitton Speedy 35, like I said, closest to the daily Voyage bag. The Louis Vuitton Speedy retails for around $1,700 versus the $3,300 of the ALO. Now, I will say that the Louis Vuitton classic bags and their classic monogram, that is a coated canvas and it has leather trims and leather accents. The handles are leather and stuff, but the bulk of the bag is not leather versus the ALO one. The whole thing is leather. So that is something to keep in mind. Obviously, material cost there is quite different, and overall structure and look of the bag, you're getting a lot more leather in the ALO one. So that is going to be a higher price. However, I do think there is something to be said about when you are paying thousands of dollars for a bag. Keep in mind that no bag just in material cost is ever going to be worth thousands of dollars. You're not paying thousands and thousands of dollars for the leather or the hardware or honestly even the craftsmanship. You are paying ultimately for the brand name. That's the reason why people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a designer with the designer tag, is because it has the designer tag. And as far as I'm aware, ALO isn't a designer. So we're just going to keep that there. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep chugging along through these bags. You've got the Tranquility Tote, which actually comes in some suede colors. You've got black suede, espresso suede, Bordeaux suede. Actually really pretty. And I have to say, maybe my favorite marketing picture of them all. Honestly, I was ragging on the marketing pictures earlier, but the more I'm looking at them, the more I'm like, yeah, you know what? If I wanted to pose with my $2,300 tote bag, this is how I would pose. This is absolutely how I would pose. Oh, right. Did I tell you that that bag was $2,300? Because it is. It is. It's a tote bag. It looks really big. I compared it to something like the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, and it does look like it is objectively a bigger bag than even the Neverfull. Looks like a pretty expansive tote. So, you know, you're getting a decent amount of bag, but again, you are paying a designer price tag. Out of all the bags in the ALO bag launch, I think this Odyssey bag is objectively the most unique one in my opinion. There's something about it that looks very vintage. Like it looks vintage, it looks classic, it looks like something that like your grandmother wore back in the 60s or something. I don't know, it looks very unique. Again, this bag comes in black leather, espresso leather. It is again $3,200, so comes with a price tag, as they all do, as I'll keep harping on. But out of the whole bag collection, this was actually the one that caught my eye. I was like, you know what? If somebody were to gift me one of these bags, which hey, ALO, if you're out there and you want to gift me one of these bags, I will happily test it for all of us. I'm happy to be the guinea pig for the rest of us, okay? But this one is actually a really beautiful looking bag. And then finally, you've got the Balance bucket bag, and this looks to be a pretty classic bucket style tote bag. This comes in a black leather and a black suede and an espresso suede as well, and this is $2,000. So the cheapest out of all of the offerings, but again, a pretty classic bucket bag, a style that you can get in most bag brands, I would say. Now, circling back to the beginning of this really long video, if you remember what I was saying about the ALO Wellness Club, that's where we're going to bring that back in to talking about these handbags. The Wellness Club was exclusive. It was invite only. They don't want this to be open to the public. This is not for, it's not for us peasants, okay? It's not for the rest of us. That is clearly the game plan with this bag launch as well. They have priced out, I would say, the majority of people. These are not made for the masses. These are made to be exclusive. These are made to be really rare, hard to find, and hard to acquire. And that's not just in the prices, but they also did that based on the limited quantity of these bags. So these bags were launched in 23 of the ALO stores. However, you cannot get them online. They do not sell them online. So you have to be near one of these 23 stores and you have to go in person and buy it. So I do think that that is, again, another way they have made this launch very exclusive. It kind of reminds me of like a Chanel business model. Like you can't buy the Chanel classic flaps online. You have to go into a Chanel boutique to get your hands on those. So it kind of makes it extra exclusive. And it feels like ALO took a little page out of Chanel's book with that one. This was definitely ALO's heavy push into the luxury market. And it was a pretty interesting one. I am curious to know if this is actually going to attract a new clientele for ALO, because let's just talk about designer goods really quick. Let's talk about why designer bags actually cost that much. Like I said earlier, while leather, hardware, craftsmanship, it is expensive, it is not the bulk of the price that you pay for a designer item. When you're talking luxury brands, okay, you are paying a lot for the heritage of the brand, the exclusivity, the status, the marketing behind it. If they have celebrity endorsements, you're really paying for the whole brand identity and to be a part of that story. Typically, a designer handbag, just manufacturing costs about 25% of their wholesale price, and then wholesale gets marked up to retail price. Okay, so at the end of it, the actual manufacturing cost of a lot of these bags is maybe 10%, if not less, of what the final retail price ends up being. Obviously, all these numbers and stats are variable brand to brand, bag to bag, etc., based on, the materials, the brand, where it's made, how it's made, and the materials they're actually using. But let me just tell you a few reasons why I think if you're in the market to spend a couple $1,000s on a bag, why you might want to think twice about investing in the ALO bag. Number one, this is their first collection. Okay, ALO has not done handbags before. This is their first step into it. So because of that, it is a little bit of a riskier move. You don't know if these designs have been perfected yet. You don't know if you're going to be the guinea pig. Like, are you going to be the one to get the bag that after a few months falls apart at the seams because they didn't really test those corners very well? Or you've got the bottom kind of, fallen through or something. Like, you just don't know. Do you want to be the guinea pig for a couple $1,000 bag? I don't think I want to, personally. Another thing to keep in mind is a lot of heritage designer brands do stand by their products. So if you happen to get a bag that happens to be falling apart, you can take it back in and get it fixed. They're usually pretty good about that. Obviously, if it's just normal wear and tear, they typically still fix their bags. You might have to pay a little bit, but it's like you are investing in a lifetime with this bag when you are paying thousands of dollars up front. I don't know what ALO's policy is going to be for potentially fixing bags. Again, leather bags, they will over time potentially crack, or there might be some leather staining with those darker bags or some transferring. We just don't know what's going to happen with these bags because they're brand new. They haven't been tested yet. And again, when you're paying thousands of dollars for a bag, you typically want to be sure that that bag is going to hold up and be a lifetime investment. And that's the other thing. A lot of these designer brands, if you are purchasing, especially a classic bag from a designer brand, if you happen to not love it after a year, a couple years, a decade, etc., a lot of them hold value on the resale market. That's also something to keep in mind. Typically, these designer bags, if you have not been using them and you want to resell them, they do hold some pretty good value. In fact, a lot of the big brands, specific bags, yes, but big brands actually go up in value. Like if you bought a Chanel classic flat bag 10 years ago, you could resell that bag now and make more than what you paid for it 10 years ago. The value goes up on that bags just because of how often Chanel does price increases. So basically they are investments. Now, obviously, we don't have that kind of information on if these ALO bags are similar investments. Are they going to hold their value on the resale market? We really don't know. If I had to guess, I would say that they will hold some value on the resale market, but I just don't think they're going to hold their value like an actual designer brand name bag. I personally just don't see it. And I absolutely could be wrong because we have no information on that yet. These bags literally just came out a week ago, but we'll see. Only time will tell on that. Now, to be honest, I love supporting smaller handbag brands. And I think if you're looking for a really, really good leather, suede, highly crafted bag, there are so many smaller brands that are selling insanely amazing bags at under the $1,000 price point. Polen, Benno, Higher Goods, Songmont, these are all brands that have incredible bags, real leather, made with incredible craftsmanship, really unique styles that are kind of the story of those brands. But because they're not a designer name, they're not a Gucci, they're not a Louis, they're not a YSL, they're not a Dior, they don't come with thousands of dollars of a price tag. I do own some incredible bags from some of these brands that are so high quality that I absolutely love. And the price tag was far below the $1,000 price point. And in my honest opinion, if I were to just, throw my little 2 cents in there, I do feel like ALO should have priced their bags between the $400 to $600 mark. I think that you can get a really nice, high quality leather bag that's not a designer bag for that price point. I do think that a $500 price tag just would have made so much more sense for ALO. I feel like it would have also been able to acquire the aspirational customer, somebody who wants to kind of step their toes into a nicer bag, something that's still leather, something that's still crafted well, but not quite something that's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars like a designer bag, Again, just in my opinion, if you had $3,000 to spend on a bag, why would you not go to a designer that already has the name, the status, the heritage, the prestige? In general, these bags are going to be high quality, and worst case, if you hate this purchase, you can resell it typically for a decent amount. It just makes that kind of investment feel a little less risky, And again, for ALO, you have to go in person to see the bags. You have to purchase it in person, which I also feel like in general potentially could make some people impulse purchase this. Again, unless you live really close to one of those ALO sanctuaries that they're selling them at. If you're driving, an hour, a couple hours further than that to get to one of these ALO stores to see this handbag collection in person, the likelihood of you being like, what, let me think about it, I'll come back tomorrow, I just need to sleep on it. If you drove 4 hours for that, you're probably not gonna do that. So either you're gonna leave it in the store, which obviously then they lost a customer, or you're going to impulse purchase it and then potentially regret it later. I don't know. I'm just trying to think through this with you guys on camera right now. There's no right or wrong way. There's no stats on what customers of this handbag are even doing, because again, this just launched. This is me just talking it out with you in real time. So I guess in conclusion, to answer the question that we were all wondering, has ALO lost the plot? Have they lost the plot of their own brand? Do they even know what they're doing? I think that they're being very strategic with the way they are going with the brand. I think they are trying to keep it exclusive. I think they are trying to keep it like, you're not allowed to sit with us. I think that's what they're trying to do. And at the end of the day, I think there are people that are going to feed into that. There are going to be people who love that, like having to track down the bag and having to spend thousands of dollars on it and feeling like you are one of the few that own it. That in and of itself, is a different set of people. I don't think it's the core ALO customer, like the majority of ALO customers, I don't think are going to fall into that bucket. But I do think it's interesting that they are trying to supposedly acquire a new set of customers with this bag launch. I don't know. I'm curious to know how it's going to go for them. I was just very like, when I say that that marketing email sat in my brain for damn near a week before I made this video, that's how long I've been sitting on it, you guys. It has currently been my Roman Empire. I cannot go like 2 hours of my day without thinking about this launch. And that's the reason I did this insane deep dive in Aloe. And it's the reason why I brought this video to you guys today. Because I figured if I was this interested in just the trajectory of Aloe Yoga as a brand, I figured somebody out there would care or be semi-interested or just want to just entertain me on this topic while I rant, because I am curious. But to answer the question, no, I don't think Aloe has completely lost the plot. I think that they are writing a completely new book. I don't think that they are continuing the book that they started with. I don't think that we're reading the same novel. I think that we are in a completely new series. Leave that series behind. We are literally leveling up. We are in a completely different genre right now. I think that's what they're doing to us. And I do think it's confusing a lot of people. It's making some people mad. It's making some people lost. It's confusing people. I'm curious to know what they're going to do with their core customer base, and if they're still just going to be pumping out the athleisure activewear as per usual, and if they're just going to keep the handbags super, super exclusive. And I'm curious to know how they're actually going to sell. I am very curious about that. If I see a girly in the streets of LA walking around with that Aloe Voyage bag with her little crystal bag charm dangling off it, I'm definitely going to say something. Something nice. I'm going to make a compliment because obviously I know how hard she worked for that one, but I am curious. So if I see people out there in the streets, I'm just, I'm going to keep my eyes out. I'm keeping my eyes out for those Aloe Yoga handbag girlies. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive of Aloe Yoga. I had a hyperfixation moment and I needed to come to you with all this information. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's another brand that has interested you and if you guys want me to do another random deep dive. I don't know. This was really fun for me. Something a little different from my normal content, but I have another brand in mind that I already want to deep dive on because I have been going down the rabbit hole on this other brand. Let's just say it's a really popular brand that a lot of beauty people / just people in general do a lot of sponsorships on. And I am just so curious to know the way this brand works on the back end. Like, where did they come from? Why have they flooded the market? Why is everybody on social media talking about them? But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you guys care to subscribe or give me a little thumbs up for all of the research and all of the effort I put into this video, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will talk to you guys in another video very soon. I'll see you then. Bye.